Los Angeles Chargers here at 13, no surprise, they go out and get an offensive lineman. This is what they had to do. I mean, they needed the offensive line help. They need to protect Justin Herbert. You don't want a Joe Burrow situation where he gets hurt, and you really don't want a Andrew Luck situation, which Joe Burrow might be getting into with Cincinnati, apparently, with them ignoring the offensive line. He's a guy who a lot of people have as their number 2 tackle, and you can see why. He's an interesting tackle because, and we'll get more into it in the film study, but, you know, he can pass protect, he can run block, so very interesting stuff with him. And I just think that this is one of those things where it's the fit. It's the fit. It makes sense. You need to protect your franchise guy. You need to protect Justin Herbert, and it's one of those things where it's not always the sexiest selection. Obviously, getting a wide receiver is more fun. Getting a great edge rusher or a great running back is more fun. Usually getting a tackle ends up being the thing that helps your team more and helps your quarterback more, let him become a franchise guy. So I love the pick. That's what I think. And so, yeah, let's just get into the film study and talk about why I like it. So we'll start things off with this play. What's going to end up happening is that this is honestly the best thing about Slater. Like, this is the thing that everyone talks about when you're talking about Slater. And how could you not? It jumps out on film. You can't not notice this, where he's going to be going up to block a linebacker. And that's really the key thing about, I think, what he can bring to the table is he's an incredible run blocking tackle. He can pass block. We'll get into that in a second. But his run blocking and his ability to get up to the second level is, I think, what puts him above and beyond and what turns him from a good prospect to a really good prospect. I mean, watch this. Look at how he moves like a wide receiver. Wide receivers didn't get to their block as quickly as he did. So, really good job by him. Just an incredible job of getting to that first level. His speed it just jumps out on film, which does matter in my opinion. You can also have something like this, which is going to be somewhat similar. It's going to be a double team, and then he's going to get to the second level. So obviously when people talk about his ability to get up to that second level, usually what they're talking about is the play I just showed you, but this play is still very important because it's not just about blocking the linebacker. In fact, the linebacker, that's not always the most important part of this block now. Oftentimes it's you got to get that defensive tackle over. You want to move it enough that there's going to be a big window for the running back to get through, but still you want to be able to block the linebacker so that way when the running back does get through, he can get all the way through. It's not like it's just going to get tackled 3 yards down the field, which is still preferable, but not really a huge deal. So right when it starts, you see Slater does a good job, I think really a perfect job of pushes the defensive tackle over, but then gets in position where he can block that linebacker and get him out of the way. So again, right now he's in a really good spot, and it's his footwork and his speed that I would say sets him apart from every other tackle in the league. There's other stuff he has, but really those are the two main things that he can do. And watch how, as you see, he does finish off this block. Really well done by Slater. Again, he's a very good tackle. There's no denying that, I don't think. Okay, let's talk about this. Let's talk about him beating up on Chase Young a little bit. This is kind of another thing that is a big narrative when it comes to Slater. He more than held his own against Chase Young, who had a very good, although I would say a bit overrated, but still very good rookie season. He definitely did pretty well for himself, and we know that he can play, at a high level in the NFL. So the fact that Slater can kind of hold his own against him is impressive. And one thing that I was worried about with Slater when I watched him in some other games is he would try this hug technique, which basically means you're getting your arms kind of both to the outside, almost like the shoulder pad area of that player. Like, watch, on this play, you see that that's what he's doing, right? How he gets his arms around. And there's some real logic in doing something like this. For example, it's really difficult to get to the outside, get to, beat him with, an either angle when you have this technique going, because, think about it. How is Chase Young on this play supposed to get to the outside or to the inside, do anything other than just overpower him? You're essentially forcing your opposing edge rusher into a bolt rush. And one of the things that concerned me about this a little bit with Slater is just that I don't feel like his strength is as great as some other guys in this class. Not to say that it's awful, it's just not quite as good. And so that's a bit concerning that he will like to do this from time to time, I would say. Just because how well will that translate to the NFL, we don't know. But on display, he does hold his own pretty fairly well against Chase Young. So that's promising. Now, I still would say that's a slight concern and maybe something he'll have to lose in the NFL, just because even Chase Young, a lot of his wins weren't necessarily on pure power. They were more footwork and hand technique. But still, it's at least he can beat not just some other college guys, but a really good NFL player at that. You also have something like this, where this is, again, Chase Young is the guy who's going to be going up against him, and Young is going to try and get to the outside here, and that's one of the things that I do feel like Slater is matched up really well to beat a guy like Chase Young, quite frankly. It's a really good matchup for him, and listen, that could be almost sound like an insult, like, oh, well, he just matched up well. Well, if you match up well against the reigning defensive rookie of the year, there's, worse things in the world. I would actually still say that's pretty good that he's kind of uniquely equipped to block someone like Chase Young. Watch this lateral movement. I mean, it's just really good job right there. And again, part of me is a bit concerned about, I loved Andrew Thomas's lateral movement, and in hindsight, I probably should have realized, hey, you can't rely on that at the NFL to the same degree as much. But at the same time, if Slater can have that be a big part of his game and beat Chase Young with it, it's less concerning for me than it would be if he only did this against, mediocre players that are never going to make it to the NFL. And we'll show one more play on this one. Again, we're sticking with this game. We're sticking with the Chase Young. I figured that why not use the best examples of what I want to talk about, and those tend to be against the best player he played, or at least, I would certainly say so. Watch how right when this play starts, you notice how Young kind of gets his left arm. He's going to get onto Slater's right pec area a little bit. And there's several things Young could do with this. It looks like the main thing Chase Young wants to do, it's a little bit hard to see from this angle. Again, I don't have all 22 for college, unfortunately, so got to work with what I have. But it appears as though Young's going to kind of try and get Slater's left arm, get his left wrist, and then you can sort of move it around. Call it a stab and grab move, can work out pretty well. But the reality is Slater has really good hands as well. His hands aren't maybe necessarily as good as someone like Darrisaw's, for example, which is why I have Darrisaw as the higher tackle, but not by much. They're both very good. And watch how, Young just is never able to get the hand placement he wants, and he was just never going to win that matchup. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot to like about Rashawn Slater. I think that he's potentially a franchise tackle. While his skill set isn't necessarily always the kind of skill set that translates to the NFL, it certainly does on occasion. And I would say, a guy like him, with the tape he has, he's probably going to end up being a franchise tackle. That's how I feel. There is some small bust potential, but not large bust potential. I think he'll be really good. And his tape is fantastic to watch. It really is. So, I mean, yeah, that's what I think about Slater. That's what I think about this pick. What do you guys think about this? Let me know in the comments below. What are your thoughts on this draft pick? Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.